What's good on you guys, and welcome back to another video. And take a look at this. This is the original iPhone 2G from back in 2007, and we're going to be turning this phone into a true piece of Apple history in today's video by taking it apart and framing it and putting it on our wall. But before we do that, I did want to give a huge shout out to XReArt for making today's video possible. They sent over 2 iPhone 2Gs as well as their DIY kit, where you can actually turn your old iPhones into a piece of history as well using all the tools that they have. And if you're not feeling too ambitious on a project like this, you can always check out their pre-made kits as well. So these iPhones have already been taken apart if that's something you guys are interested in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this video. Now, like I said, they did send over 2 different iPhones, and the first one that we have here is fully functioning, so we're not going to take this one apart, but the one that we are taking apart is this one right over here. This phone has honestly gone through a lot, so it only makes sense to open this one up. And I also want to mention that I actually opened this phone up prior to filming this video just so I can familiarize myself with the process of disassembly before filming. And to be honest guys, this is one of the hardest phones to disassemble. There's so many different parts that are stuck together and all the pieces are there, so hopefully this thing works. So let's get into this video. Okay, so the first thing that we are greeted with is of course the actual photo frame itself. So this is where we're actually going to be adding the iPhone 2G and all of its individual parts. And if you actually turn this thing around, then you can see all of the little parts of the iPhone 2G that are essentially going to be added onto this frame. Now, they also included a nice little toolkit as well. This includes all the tools that we need to not only take apart the iPhone 2G, but pretty much any iPhone that we have in our collection. Now, they also sent over a little piece of glue, so we'll be using that at the end of this video. Now, in order to actually do the disassembly process, I first started off by taking apart this little black piece over here, and by doing this, I was able to take apart the actual aluminum housing of the phone in the back. And let me tell you guys, this is one of the hardest things to take off in the entire disassembly process. It's pretty much clasped into the body of the phone, so you really got to pull on it and try your best not to damage it while taking it out. Once we do take that out, we'll be greeted with the actual logic board and the battery. Now, we're not going to be using the battery for safety reasons, so we're going to take that out. But there are 2 logic boards, so once you take off the battery, then you'll be able to separate the logic boards and put both of those onto the actual frame. So already it's looking pretty good. So now what we did was actually take apart the phone a little bit further, and the next thing we want to do is actually take apart the screen. And you guys got to be super careful with this. So the bezel itself, that's okay, we can put that to the side. But the screen itself, you guys want to be super careful because this thing cracks very easily, and that's exactly what happened to me when I was taking it apart for the very first time. So what I ended up doing was I did have an extra screen laying around from another iPhone. It's not a 2G, but I will probably update the screen on this later sometime in the future if I ever do come across a 2G screen, but we're going to leave that there for now. The remaining parts were basically the charger, the speaker, and any remaining things like the flash and the actual housing of the phone. And once that was all set out, take a look at this. It looks so cool. We have that tiny little Apple processor from the first iPhone. That's always nice to see. The next thing we did was, of course, actually glue this phone onto the canvas. This is pretty time consuming, so be sure to take your guys' time. And we're gonna let it dry for about 24 hours. So we'll be back in about 24 hours from now, and we'll see what happens to this phone. So as you guys can see, this thing did end up looking pretty nice at the end. And if you look closely, you might have noticed that I missed a few pieces on the actual frame. And that's because I might have misplaced them during the disassembly process. So if I ever find them, I'll be sure to put them back on. But anyways, guys, like I said, I do have an extra iPhone 2G over here. If you guys want to see a video on this, be sure to let me know. And of course, if you guys are interested in buying your own DIY kit or a pre-made frame as well from xreart.com, be sure to use my code iClassic for 10% off your next order. More information will be in the description box below. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.